Hello, dear friends. How are you, all of you? So, dear friends, let me introduce myself. My name is Mirza Subhan Baig, working as assistant professor in Department of Management Studies at Marri Laxman Reddy Institute of Technology and Management, Dundigal, Hyderabad. I'm into this profession of teaching since from past 15 years. So, dear students, in our MBA course, there's one subject, quantitative techniques for management. Quantitative techniques for management. So, in this subject, today I am going to discuss a topic called linear programming. Once I repeat, the topic I am going to discuss today is what is linear programming. So these are the course objectives and outcome of the syllabus to provide the basic tools of operational research in solving the management problems using mathematical approach to decision making. These are some of the objectives and course outcome of the syllabus, and this is the syllabus. So in this syllabus you can see in second unit there's one concept called linear programming, how linear programming is used in our business decision making. There are some problems also. So what is linear programming? That concept I'm going to discuss in this session. This is the syllabus you can see on the screen. So the topic is linear programming. So dear students, in order to make you understand what is linear programming, let me give some information, some examples. So with the help of this information, examples, you can able to understand very clearly what do you mean by linear programming. So dear students, you take the example of a manufacturer, any businessman. Here the objective of any businessman or manufacturer is to earn more profits. Every manufacturer, every businessman wants to maximize his or her profits. They want to increase their profits in the market. They want to improve their sales in the market. They want to acquire more market share in the market. Now you take the example of simply a bakery owner. Now his objective will be to increase his sales, to increase his profits every day. So now he has to take a decision that how many number of cakes or pastries should he produce every day so that his profits can be maximized, his sales can be increased. So in order to produce cakes or pastries, we require ingredients or raw materials like wheat, sugar, milk, etc. like that. So as we know that the resources for every company, here resources are nothing but raw material, labor, capital, machinery. So the resources for every company are very limited. They are very scarce in nature. So in case of bakery owner also, with the limited resources available to him, that is wheat, milk, sugar, whatever may be, he has to produce the maximum output, that is maximum number of cakes, so that he can sell out in the market and he can able to get more profits every day. Similarly, here also, you take the example of a manufacturer, any businessman. In order to produce goods and services, we require raw materials, we require machinery, labor, capital, etc. So dear students, as we know that the resources are available to us are very limited in nature. They are very limited, like the availability of land, the availability of raw material, machinery, capital is very limited. For example, if you take the example of petrol, crude oil, which is not available freely in our country, we have to borrow, we have to buy it from any other Gulf countries. So here every manufacturer, every businessman tries to utilize these limited resources in such a way, in such a manner, so as to produce maximum output, maximum production, so as to yield more and more profits for his business. So whereby the concept of linear programming comes into the picture. So simply you can understand linear programming, nothing but it is a one method, it is a mathematical technique. By the help of this method, with the help of this technique, it will help a manufacturer, it will help a businessman to produce maximum output, to produce maximum production out of the limited resources like men, capital, machinery, labor that is available to him. So simply you can understood linear programming as how a manufacturer, how a businessman with his limited resources, that is capital, land, machinery, he can able to produce maximum production, he can able to generate his sales, he can able to earn maximum profits. So that is what we call as linear programming. So linear programming is a method, linear programming is a technique which helps to find out a best solution in a given situation with the availability of limited resources to a manufacturer or to a businessman. That is what we call as linear programming. So here linear programming is a mathematical technique used to find the optimal, that is maximum or minimum value of a linear function subject to a limited constraints, aiming to optimize allocation and decision making. That is what the definition of linear programming. So linear programming means it helps a company, it helps a manufacturer to make use of his limited resources in such a manner, in the best manner, so that he can able to produce maximum production, he can able to increase his production, and he can able to generate more sales, he can able to earn more profits with the help of limited resources. That what linear programming helps a manufacturer or a businessman. So simply in a layman language, we can understood linear programming as it is a one mathematical technique. By using this technique, it helps a manufacturer, a company, a businessman to find the best solution to his given problem by keeping in mind the limited constraints, that is limited resources, land, labor, capital, machinery. So that is what the meaning of linear programming. I hope you have got an in-depth understanding and knowledge of linear programming. So in continuation to this topic, so we have to know some of the important concepts, important key points in linear programming. So some of the key points, concepts in linear programming, the first one is objective function. The first one is what? Objective function. So here objective function is nothing but to maximize the profits. The objective, the goal of any businessman, of any company is to maximize the profit. Every businessman wants to maximize his profit. He wants to generate more sale. He wants to produce more goods with limited resources. So he wants to maximize his profit. And at the same time, simultaneously, a businessman wants to reduce his cost of production. He wants to reduce his cost. So here objective function can be understood as to maximize the profit for the manufacturer and to minimize the losses for the manufacturer. So here, dear friends, as a manufacturer, for example, you take example yourself as a manufacturer, you would like to produce goods with a very low cost, with a very cheap cost, so that you can able to sell that goods at a very reasonable price in the market. If you are spending a lot of money on production only, you cannot able to sell your goods at a very reasonable price in the market. You have to sell it for a very high price. If you are selling the goods for a very high price in the market, the customers, they don't have the capacity, they can't afford to buy your products. So that doesn't help you to increase your sale. It doesn't help you to generate more profit, to acquire more market share in the market. So for this reason, the objective, every manufacturer, every production manager will try to minimize the cost of production. They want to produce the goods at a very low cost, at a very lowest cost or cheap cost, whatever it may be. So here the concept of linear programming helps the manufacturer to minimize the cost, to reduce the cost of production, and to maximize their profits. So maximizing the profits for a manufacturer and minimizing the cost or the production cost for a manufacturer, it is what we call as objective function in linear programming. So in linear programming, one of the key points is objective function, where a manufacturer will try to maximize his profits and try to minimize his losses or cost of production. And the next important concept, the important point in linear programming is constraints, nothing but limitation. So here we can understand what are constraints, nothing but limitations. I'll do one example. If you take the example of a game of cricket, in a game of cricket, when one team is batting and the another team is bowling, they have to follow certain rules, certain norms, certain regulations that are prescribed by the ICCI, International Council of Cricket. So similarly, here also, when a manufacturer wants to produce goods and services and he wants to sell that goods and services in the market, that manufacturer has to follow certain rules, certain regulations, certain norms that is prescribed by the government, either state government, either central government, or any other regulating body or agency. So here constraints are nothing but the limitations which a manufacturer has to follow in the production of goods and services. The limited resources like land, labor, capital, machinery, which are very limited to him. So those things are called as constraints, nothing but the limitations, the rules which a manufacturer has to follow. So here constraints can be defined as these are linear inequalities or equations that represent limitations or restrictions on a decision variable. These are called as constraints. So dear students, when you are working out on a linear programming problem, you have to keep these things in mind. The important concept in linear programming, that the first one is objective function, nothing but to maximize the profit for the manufacturer and to minimize the losses for the manufacturer. And the second one is constraints, nothing but the limitations, the restrictions, the rules which a manufacturer has to follow in its production process. So these are the two important concepts, that is objective function and constraints. Next, we'll move further. The another important concept in linear programming problem is decision variable. So now let us discuss what are these decision variable. Decision variable is nothing but, I'll give an example. You take the example of a bakery owner. He has to produce certain type of cakes like chocolate cakes, vanilla cakes, some type of pastries, birthday cakes, cool cakes to earn more profits. So now decision variable can be defined as how much quantity of how many chocolate cakes to be produced per day, how many vanilla cakes to be produced per day, how many pastries, how many cool cakes, how many birthday cakes to be produced per day, so that he can maximize his profits, he can minimize his losses. Means how much quantity of cakes he need to produce per day, whether the demand for chocolate cakes is more per day or a demand for vanilla cakes is more per day. He has to take a decision. If, for example, if the demand for chocolate cakes is more per day, he needs to produce chocolate cakes every day so that he can able to earn more profits. If the demand for vanilla cakes is more, he need to produce vanilla cakes so that he can able to maximize his profit, he can able to generate his sales. So that is called as decision variable. So in linear programming problem, decision variable is understood as how much quantity of goods to be produced per day, how much production to be done per month. So that is what we call as decision variable. And the next important concept in linear programming problem is feasible solution. What is this feasible solution? Is nothing but the set of all possible solutions that satisfy all the constraints. See here, in order to maximize profits, in order to minimize losses, we have to choose the best solution that is available in a particular situation by keeping in view the limited constraints so that the profits can be maximized. So here feasible solution is nothing but the best solution that a manufacturer has to choose among the different alternatives available to him. That is what we call as feasible solution. And the last one is optimal solution. Optimal solution nothing but the solution within the feasible region that yields the best value of the objective function. So here optimal solution is nothing but the best strategy that is going to help to achieve the objective of the manufacturer. Here objective is nothing but to maximize the profits, to minimize the losses of the manufacturer. So what is the best strategy he is adopting? What is the best strategy he is implementing to achieve his goals? For every company, there are certain goals and objectives. Every company works in order to attain for certain goals and objectives. So what is the best strategy they are following? What is the best strategy they are implementing so that their objectives, their goals can be achieved with the help of limited resources? That is what we call as optimal solution in linear programming. So dear students, these are the important points. That is, the first one is what? Objective function. The second one is constraints, nothing but limitations, certain rules. Next, the decision variable, how much to produce every day. Feasible region and optimal solution. These are the important points a manufacturer, a businessman has to keep in mind in order to maximize his profits. So now dear students, now let us take the example of one problem of a manufacturer, one of the real-time problem of a manufacturer. With the help of this problem, by understanding this problem, we'll use mathematical technique, that is linear programming. This problem should be converted into a mathematical equation so that we can find a feasible solution, an optimal solution to a manufacturer to maximize his profits, to select the best source of resources that is available to him. That we'll discuss. So first we'll read the problem. So here the example is given as, imagine a company that produces two products A and B. So dear students, a company is producing two products A and B. They want to maximize their profit, which is rupees 3 per unit of A and rupees 4 per unit of B. So dear students, a company is producing two products A and B. By producing product A, they want to earn 3 rupees on 1 unit of A, and they want to earn 4 rupees per unit of B. However, they have limited resources. Already I have told you that for every manufacturer, the problem is that in order to produce more goods and services, the availability of resources, that is land, machinery, labor, capital, will be very limited. So here also in this problem, for a manufacturer, the resources are available that is very limited. So they have limited resources, 20 units of raw material and 15 hours of labor. So see, dear students, here in order to produce two products A and B and want to earn some profits on these two products respectively, the resources available, that is raw material, that is machinery, that is labor, whatever may be. So the resources available for this manufacturer is very limited. That is 20 units of raw material. Only 20 units of raw material is available to produce two products A and B. And only 15 hours of labor work is available. Only the labor can able to work only for 15 hours. So within this limited resources, that is availability of 20 units of raw material and 15 hours of labor work, they have to produce product A and B, and they want to maximize their profits over product A and B. Now each unit of A requires 1 unit of raw material. So dear students, in order to produce one unit of A, it requires 1 unit of raw material and 2 units of labor. So for product A, it requires 1 unit of raw material and 2 units of labor. So 2 units of labor are required and 1 unit of raw material is required to produce product A. And simultaneously, in order to produce product B, it requires 2 units of raw material and 1 hour of labor. So this information is given in the question. So in a nutshell, I will discuss this problem once again to have a very clear understanding of this problem. See here, a company, some XYZ company, they are producing two types of products, namely A and B. But by producing product A, they want to sell it for ₹3, and by producing product B, they want to sell it for ₹4. So in order to produce these two products A and B, the resources available for them are very limited. That is 20 units of raw material and 15 hours of labor. And in order to produce product A, they required 1 unit of raw material and 2 units of labor. And at the same time, in order to produce product B, they required 2 units of labor and 2 units of raw material and 1 unit of labor. So now this information, this problem, we have to convert this problem into a mathematical equation, into a mathematical form. We have to convert this problem into linear programming problem so that we can able to maximize the profits for this manufacturer. So we'll move to next slide. So dear students, here the objective function is nothing but I have discussed already, to maximize the profits for manufacturer, to minimize the losses for manufacturer. So here the objective function for manufacturer is given as, it is maximize, that is profit, it is denoted with Z. Here profit is denoted with Z. So maximize the profit for a manufacturer, that is he can, by producing a product called A, he can able to earn ₹3 of profit, and by producing product called B, he can able to earn 4 rupees of profits. So this is the objective function for a manufacturer. And in order to produce product A and B, the material, the raw material, the labor available for them are very limited. They are very scarce in nature. That is, the raw material available to produce product A and B is 20. See, the raw material available to produce product A and B, that is 20, where A requires 1 unit of labor and B requires 2 units of raw material. So once I repeat, dear students, the availability of raw material. So this is raw material. So the availability of raw material to produce product A and B, it is only 20. So the units of raw material are available, that is 20 units only. So in that 20 units, to produce product A, it requires 1 unit of raw material, and to produce product B, it requires 2 units of raw material. And at the same time, the availability of labor hours to produce this product A and B, they are only 15 hours. So 15 hours are available to produce product A and B. So whereas to produce product A, it requires 2 units of labor and 1 unit of labor for product B. So by this, we have converted this problem into a linear programming problem, into a mathematical equation. Here we have an objective function. Here we have constraints. So we need to solve this problem either by using graphical method or either by using simplex method. So here in linear programming problem, two types of methods are available to find an optimal solution to a given problem. Means to find the best solution to a given problem by keeping in view the limited constraints. There are two methods are available. The first one is graphical method and the second one is simplex method. So you can use any method. So in later videos, in my coming videos, I will try to solve the problem with the help of graphical method and with the help of simplex method in the next videos. So you can use any graphical method or simplex method. By using this method, you can able to find the optimal solution for your problem where a manufacturer can able to maximize the profits and minimize the losses. So dear students, this is what about linear programming problem. So in this video, till now we have learned what you mean by linear programming, how linear programming is used for a manufacturer. It helps a manufacturer to maximize the profits, to minimize the losses, and how a problem that can be converted into a linear programming form into a mathematical equation. We have discussed what are the important concepts in linear programming, that is objective function, constraint, decision variable, feasible solution. So all these topics have been discussed in detail. So I hope you have understood these topics. So okay, now I'll stop. All of you take care. Jai Hind.